Have you met All Modern? All Modern brings you the best of modern furniture and decor. And right now through November 20th, you'll score up to 50% off during their early access to Black Friday sale. Simplify your holiday entertaining with deals on plush sofas, modern tabletop essentials, and more. All on sale at All Modern. Then get them delivered for free in days. You heard that right. Days. That's modern made simple. Shop All Modern's early access to Black Friday sale now through November 20th at allmodern.com.
A hilarious new stand-up special from comedy legend Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, is coming to Hulu November 22nd. This Thanksgiving, see Jim in a whole new light as he gives you the inside scoop on everything from parenting teenagers to weight loss and gaslighting family members. For everyone in need of a happy hour, the new hilarious stand-up special, Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, premieres November 22nd, streaming on Hulu.
You can support this podcast at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, can the American ambassador prove the prime minister is behind the terror attacks pushing his country toward war? We'll talk about season 2 of the Netflix political thriller The Diplomat, starring Keri Russell. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and love of my life, Kevin Flynn. Hi, Kevin.
Yes, ma'am.
Also with us is
that's
private.
What they talk. That's how they address the secretary.
I was fine with it. That's why.
You were fine with it.
On.
Okay, that's right.
You can address me as yes, ma'am, all you want. Also with us is private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of The Final Curtain, Laura Bricker. Hello, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca.
And finally, our captain of all things cynical, author of the City trilogy of novels, host of Rip Current, Strange Arrivals, and our Patreon Deep Dive Book Club podcast host, Toby Ball. Hey, Toby.
Hey, Rebecca.
So, Kevin, this is Monday's program.
It is.
What's happening on Thursday's show?
On Thursday, we're going to be talking about the Netflix adaptation of the hit podcast, Sweet Bobby.
All right. Laura, quick question for you.
What?
Do you have like an MSG allergy or something?
I don't have an MSG allergy. I have an allergy to hot, spicy peppers. And Lance decided to make like this Szechuan beef thing and put extra habaneros, and my whole face broke out. It's the rosacea. It's like hot, spicy food, wine, things like that make me break out in like hives.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff. So I had to go put on makeup before our taping so that I looked good for this.
This is an audio medium though, so.
I know, but at the end now, we have videos of ourselves. So I didn't want to look like a burn victim.
That's right. Way to prop up our social media as part of this conversation.
Yeah, but apparently I'm the only one in the house that thought this was spicy. So apparently I'm just the wimp. Like Will, my son, was like, this is fine. I don't taste any spice. And I'm like,
is it a true allergy, or is like in the strictest sense? Or
I think I'm just a wimp.
Yeah, okay.
I think she's got a capsaicin issue.
Well, if you're breaking out.
Yeah, that's not normal.
That sounds like that's real.
Yeah.
You can't fake that.
But I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
If you want to come try some of this spicy Szechuan beef, come on down. We'll see if anyone else breaks out.
I'm not a doctor, but I'll give you medical advice anyway.
Yeah. So then I decided to have some plum wine because apparently that would coat my throat and my mouth.
What?
So I wasn't like...
Wait, you're having the other thing that gives you hives after getting hives?
My mouth was burning.
You deserve the fucking hives. You're like that lady in my neighborhood who got attacked by the owl 3 times because she kept jogging on the same road, the same time of day with no hat on, alone. The second time was her fault. The third time was super her fault.
No, this is like there's a fire and you're throwing gasoline to put it out.
But I had to put my mouth out. I was like, I got a tape. My mouth is on fire right now.
Wow.
But I'm here. I am taking one. I am here.
Yeah.
I took one for the team. Thank you.
I took one for the team. I lived.
Just before we started taping, we were talking about how our age is showing. I'm sitting here with a blanket wrapped around me, and it's like not even that cold, but I'm always freezing.
It's cold.
Kevin's complaining about his feet.
I'm not really complaining about my feet. You're complaining about the smell of my feet.
You said that your feet smell, and I just confirmed it.
It's the socks.
Sure. All right. Well, Kevin, we're going to talk about a thing that I really want to talk about. Should we get down to it?
That's what we get paid for.
All right. Let's go ahead and drop that first clip right now. Leading off.
You think the British Prime Minister ordered a strike on his own warship, which may or may not be connected to the bomb that just went off in his own city? You think he ordered that too? I think the call is coming from inside the house. And 3 Americans, including my husband, just got blown up inside the house.
American Ambassador Kate Wyler believes the Prime Minister orchestrated a false flag operation to rally the nation and thwart a Scottish secession movement.
Scotland is still in play. This is all they'd need to revive the secession movement. You must stop Austin.
You stop him. Stand up and tell the truth. Then he won't have to.
Are you not old enough to understand? You have no idea what's true.
As British forces hunt the Russian fixer behind the attacks, Kate takes a risk hiding a politician with inside knowledge of the plot. Kate sets aside her attraction to the foreign minister to help expose the PM. Meanwhile, her politically savvy husband Hal tries to convince his reluctant wife to embrace the offer to replace the sitting vice president on the presidential ticket.
You know how much they don't want her? They want you. You needed 6 months in London just to learn how to hold a teacup. You're not electable, and you're still a better choice.
I'm not.
You are. Vice President isn't electable either, and she's trying.
Keri Russell and Rufus Sewell return for season 2 of Netflix's Emmy-nominated political thriller, The Diplomat. Kate and her staff navigate personal and professional relationships, all while trying to expose a conspiracy and ease geopolitical tensions. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about significant plot points from season 2 of The Diplomat.
All of the plot points.
So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down review. And one disclaimer, yes, I do a podcast for Netflix, but of course that has not influenced my review of this.
But if Keri Russell called, maybe...
Fuck yeah. All right, so Kevin.
Yeah.
This season was a format breaker. Last season was 10 episodes, and this season was only 6. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, not a big format breaker, but the shorter season I think actually works because season 1, like you said, there were 10 episodes, and there were like little bits that I thought might have been sort of unnecessary to the plot. There was like that trip that they made to, I don't know if it was
It was a foreign minister.
Where they got naked in the water?
Yeah, the naked, you're right. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The naked in the water thing, and they had, right.
The sister.
Yeah.
The anti-Pride and Prejudice scene.
Yeah, like it was really important.
Where he couldn't get it up.
He couldn't get it up because it wasn't his wife. Like that was all sort of like really interesting character development, but it really didn't do anything for the plot. And so the only reason I bring it up was because now when we have 6 episodes, it feels really tight. It really feels like they cut out the dead wood and the scenes that are left are in service of the plot.
So, Laura, you rewatched season 1 to prep for this. I saw in your notes, right?
I did.
Do you feel like season 2 picked up where season 1 left off? Was there continuity there for you?
Yeah, it absolutely picked up because, season 1 ended on that cliffhanger and I couldn't quite remember. I was like, who was on the bridge? Okay, I know like Hal got blown up. So it picked right up. And I kind of was like, okay, now I'm just going to binge this entire thing now that I've rewatched season 1 and I binged season 2 very quickly. Because it was only 6 episodes. I feel like there was a bit of a shift in the tone, whereas in season 1, there was definitely more of like a romantic side plot. And that really got dropped, I think, in season 2. I mean, there was a couple references to it. I think Hal asked Kate, like, were you going to fuck him? And she was like, yeah. And then at one point later, Hal's like, you're going to do this for me and you're going to come to this party because I'm going to ask you if you're going to fuck my wife. And he's like, yep, okay, I'm coming to the party.
I'll be in Scotland with you.
Yeah. And then there was like the side sort of subplot with Stuart and Idra. But again, it was nowhere near as prevalent as it was in season 1. So I felt like season 2 shifted more into like spy thriller and the pace was a lot faster. And I felt like at times as things were happening, I was like, oh my God, I'm exhausted for these people, for the amount of maneuvering. There was always something like about to happen that they were like, something's happening. And they're like talking about this and they're talking about that. And I'm like, oh my God, like this season was like off to the races.
So Toby, Keri Russell's obviously the star of this show and Kate Wyler is the protagonist of this show. Do you think she's the hero of the show?
Yeah, I mean, she's the hero of this show. I mean, I think you could very easily make her the villain of a different show without really changing anything. Because, I mean, she just shows up to England and in a matter of a few weeks is just almost having an affair with one of the ministers. She's supporting that same guy in a coup attempt based on almost no information that she then goes around and tells everybody that the coup attempt is going to happen and it's going to be successful. And of course, it turns out not to be.
As soon as she said it, yeah.
The will she, won't she thing with the vice president, where she's like talking out both sides of her mouth. Like the whole time, you're kind of following her. So you're kind of rooting for her. Plus, it's Keri Russell, so you're kind of required to. But on the other hand, I swear to God, I don't think you even have to change any like lines of dialogue or anything. You can just play it slightly differently. And I think it comes out with her just being this kind of lunatic manipulator who shows up and is just freaking throwing bombs all over the place. And you've got these British guys who are like, holy fuck, what is going on here? And just trying to like keep their heads above water. They basically have that woman from Scotland, that member of parliament. They ambush the prime minister with her in a Scottish castle. I mean, it's just,
I can't believe she lived.
I mean, that's the kind of thing where if it was like, if the British prime minister was a hero, you'd be like, what the fuck? What are these people doing to this poor guy? Because it turns out like he had nothing to do with it. He was caught as off guard as anybody. So anyway, that was something that I thought of while I was watching. I was like, wouldn't it be funny if it turns out that she just fucking screws everything up? Because she essentially does.
Yeah. So Kevin, she is very, very good though at reading the room, even though she's making all these like mistakes, right? I mean, we see a lot of that in the show in terms of like her actual abilities as a diplomat.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, Toby's right. Like, depending on what side of the chess table you're on, she's either, a great hero or like a very savvy villain. But, in a lot of ways, that's what geodiplomacy is, depending on which side you're on. But she does have like this great kind of bull in a china shop affect where, because she has been a fixer on the ground as, a real field soldier in the foreign service for so long, that she's not a diplomat by trade, but she has like all these sort of really great skills. Like the scenes like where she needs to like charm people, like she just flatters the PM. It really shows like how good at that part of the job that she is. Like she's got some real skills.
You saved the kingdom. The public adores you, and you're still inexplicably insecure. Yeah, that's going to make people move against you. It's a shame. It really is. Because you're the quickest thinker I've met since...
Since who?
My husband.
What I really love is that she and Hal are a package. Like, she can't do like the stuff he can do, and he can't do the stuff she can do as, well, I think he probably could, but he doesn't get the chance to anymore. But one of my favorite scenes this season was when she convinces Idra that Hal is the one who needs to talk to Royland because he's able to get stuff that other people can't get, and he's also a vault and will like only tell you the stuff you need to know and get you distance. It shows that they have to be together in order to be successful in a way, and I just love that scene so much. And I love that he came back when they were trying to ask him questions. He's like, not important
but actually really important.
Yes, exactly. I want to talk about Trowbridge, the prime minister, played by Rory Kinnear, who I just made the connection literally today is my favorite audiobook reader. He reads all of the Anthony Horowitz Hawthorne series books, and I just made that connection today. I don't know how, but he is freaking awesome in this show. Laura, what do you think of Trowbridge and the performance of Rory Kinnear as Trowbridge?
I think he was fantastic. You're kind of going back and forth. Is he a villain? Is he not a villain? You're trying to figure out, is he an ass? Is he not an ass? His wife is there, she's in and out. What's the relationship with him and the minister that almost had the affair with Kate? But the scene that I was like, oh my goodness, was where they lure him out to this castle and they have this elaborate plan where they're going to let him see this woman who had been an ally of his. And he goes into the room and she basically was like, yep, it was me. I'm the one who set up for all those people to get killed on that ship. And I did it for you, basically, or whatever. And he's like choking her. And then she falls over. She's bleeding out on the rug. Her head's bleeding. You're like, oh, fuck, he's now going to be charged with murder.
But the kingdom will remain intact. And that was the most important thing.
Fucking monster! Monster!
Sir! Monster! Let her go, sir. Let go of her, sir. And then he just goes back to the party and he's giving a toast. Kate's like, put your hand down, put your hand down. You've got blood on your sleeve. And there's the scene at the end where he's trying to decide, if he's going to resign and he's asking for advice on that. But the whole season, I just felt like he was such a complex character that I was always wondering, where is he actually going to land?
Yeah.
And what is actually going to happen to him? And am I going to find out something really bad about him? Because it was just well acted and he was fun to watch.
He's just a douche, right, Kevin?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Laura, on this. I mean, I've come to like Prime Minister Trowbridge. He's a wanker. He's an absolute wanker. But
I see what you did there.
But now that you know that like he's not the villain and he's just a hard-headed douche, it's like it really changes the way I looked at him, because he's just like this simmering pot of rage, as opposed to being a simmering pot of rage who is an evil mastermind. You know, it makes sort of his nastiness more entertaining. Part of this, this in Scotland, where the First Minister is trying to flatter him, and he makes some offhanded comment about like he'll tear them apart with his bare hands or kill them with his bare hands. And then minutes later, that's what he's doing. He's choking Royland out with his bare hands. But I will say, Rebecca, I know that you love this actor because of his work as an audiobook reader.
Yep.
But I remember him playing the Prime Minister
in the first episode
in Black Mirror.
Yep.
In the episode in which the Prime Minister needs to fuck a pig live on television in order to save a kidnapped member of the royal family, and it's just as horrible as you think it is.
I believe that's the first episode of Black Mirror.
Really? Is that the first? Yeah, okay.
I believe it is. I mean, it was the first one I ever saw, and we started with season 1. So I believe it's the first one. Go ahead, Toby.
I was just going to say about Trowbridge. The other thing I like, which I think is good writing and good acting, is that I kind of feel like I know his backstory, even though they haven't gotten into it at all. Like you can just kind of see him at like Eton or some like super, super posh British boarding school, like taunting the freshmen, but also having gone through that himself and like the rage that invokes and like this class stuff. He's a great character. And I think he sort of is almost an example of what this show does really well, is that you do have these characters who they don't have to go into their backgrounds. You can kind of infer from the way they are, like what their backgrounds are, which is, I think, a good trick.
You nailed it. That's exactly what I was thinking, especially in the sort of country house scenes, the Scottish country house scenes. He's wearing like one of those school pattern ties, like that's diagonal striped with little crests on it. Yeah. He's got like the aggressively worn in brown, like tromping around shoes. Like he is so old school British in a way that's like perfect, like slightly rumpled, but real snobby. He's just fantastic. And he just absolutely crackles in every scene he's in. The dialogue is incredible. His delivery of the dialogue is incredible. And it's like you go from hating him to, I absolutely freaking loved him at the end of the season. I absolutely loved him. I'm like, I hope he's in every scene next season. Toby, you said something else that I actually agree with in your notes, something about the character of Stuart, who's obviously works for Kate Wyler. What are your thoughts about Stuart?
He kind of fits into my, like, sometimes I'm like, is this supposed to be a thriller or a comedy? Because I just find him so annoying if you're supposed to be like, take him as an actual human being, because he's supposed to be this really smart guy, but he just doesn't seem to understand anything. And he can't stop talking to his ex-girlfriend at work about these things. She's like, not at work, you got to cut it out. And he just won't stop. So this is sort of the counterpoint to my saying that the good stuff is the writing around people like Trowbridge and Cade and Rufus, Sewell, whatever his character's name is.
Hal.
Like, I find Stuart written really badly, unless the idea was to get under my skin, in which case they totally freaking accomplished it.
Are you wishing that it was Stuart instead of Ronnie now?
He gets out of that party where he's going to have PTSD because of the fireworks, and there's this woman sitting right there. And I'm like, okay, that's a honey trap right there. Like, I don't even have to hear her talk. Like, just the fact she's there. And sure enough, and he's like, oh my God. It's like, come on, dude.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is his car coming first? Because I've been waiting like 15 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I've seen like 4 people come and get their cars, and I'm sure they're more important than me, but I would just love to get out of everybody's way.
Brian, you can get her car first.
It's on its way, Mom.
You say that, and then somebody else's car comes.
I think him seeming clueless, Toby, I thought there was going to be like a larger like PTSD, like traumatic brain injury subplot with him, because when he's in the hospital, he's like confused and he doesn't know what's happening. And then like that whole subplot gets wrapped up before it even evolves. It seemed like, okay, he's coming out. He's been blown up. He's having like emotional regulation challenges. He's having forgetfulness. He's confused. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then that doesn't really materialize. Instead, like what Toby was saying, you're just like, this guy is a fucking moron right now. Like, why is he still trying to talk to the ex-girlfriend? Like, she doesn't want to talk to him. And it just felt like he wasn't super savvy. And I felt like, okay, if you were going to go with the fact that he's recovering from this explosion and that's why he's not super savvy, that portion of his character and the dimension should have been fleshed out a little bit more, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a thing though, like we have both of these, we have Hal and we have Stuart, we're both like injured in this explosion, and it's like this car bomb, and it's like, who's going to have a realization about changing, their outlook on life from this life-changing experience? Now, you don't need to be injured in a car bomb to decide that you want to join us on Patreon.
You don't?
No.
Yeah, I thought that was a requirement for joining our Patreon.
No, I can verify that 99% of our patrons have not been in a car bomb and then had a revelation that they needed to join us on Patreon. They just came to the decision themselves. And
That's
we really
amazing.
appreciate it.
That's amazing they did that.
Because they also know a great value when they see it. Because just for a few bucks a month, you get all sorts of exclusive stuff like the Crime Writers on After Show.
Yes.
This week on the After Show, we're going to give our autumn recommendations. So we're each going to give a recommendation or a couple of recommendations for things that you should be consuming this autumn. Some books, some movies, some TV shows, whatever it is that we want. Stand by for that. Other great things, you get our exclusive podcasts like Married with Podcasts.
Ooh, what's that?
That is our podcast where you and I, Rebecca, dole out advice to people, including one listener who wants to narc on the annoying mom that she knows who's been lying about sending her kids to the rich school district and ripping off the taxpayers, and she would let it slide. But this mom's kind of an asshole and kind of deserves a little comeuppance.
Kevin and I had mixed advice on that one.
I said drop a dime on that bitch. We also have Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast. Toby, The Sullivanians is the latest book that you talked about. What's coming up after that?
Well, first of all, we're recording the Sullivanians tonight. And then the next book that we're going to be doing, hold on just a second, it's A Thread of Violence by Mark or Mike O'Connell.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and this one is going to be with people who are part of the Dive Bar, which is the Deep Dive Facebook page. And I kind of put out a little request to see if anybody was interested in actually being on the show. And these three people stepped up. So it should be pretty fun.
Are you in the Dive Bar?
No.
I'm not in the dive. I gotta join that. I gotta join that group.
Well, it's okay. Toby doesn't listen to our podcast, so
Rebecca keeps trying to join, and I keep saying no.
Yeah,
that's good.
I can't answer the questions
That's
properly.
smart.
Yeah.
That's smart. Smart. Another podcast you can get is Rebecca's Readathon, and that's about the Karen Reed case. And apparently there was
corruption.
there was some hearings in the case, and Rebecca's going to talk about
And a pile of filings.
Hey, I want to also let you know, like, if you for patrons on Patreon, or if you want to get on Patreon now lets you give memberships as gifts. So look into that if you want to give yourself a gift or gift a subscription to
Giving
a creator.
yourself a gift is just getting on Patreon.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Or you want someone to give you a gift, there you go. You can do that now. And
Send
also,
a link for Christmas.
Yeah, lastly, if you want to know what you're supposed to do for your homework, we always tell you sort of at the beginning of the show about what's coming up next week. Join our newsletter because it's right at the top. We're going to tell you about what's coming up next week. So if you want to get a jump on what to watch or what to read, to get that newsletter, just go to crimewriterson.com, put your email at the top. Every Thursday, you're going to get a new, fresh newsletter with all sorts of great stuff in it, including Crime Writers On Behind the Scenes, Pet of the Week, Post of the Week, Crime of the Week, Rebecca's Hairstyle of the Week, all the great stuff. I'm making that last part up, but all the great stuff that we want to share with you.
All right, Kevin, does thus end our business section?
Thus ends the business section.
I'm going to go ahead and fade that music out right now. So, Kevin, who's our next sponsor?
Hey, we're sponsored by Quince.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right, so this is what I'm going to do. This is the script. Tear it up. Because all I say, Rebecca, tell us about your latest purchase from Quince.
I got the most...
Because you purchase a lot from Quince very frequently.
It's basically like my wardrobe staple place, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I just got the most incredible faux fur hoodie jacket. It is the softest thing I have ever touched in my entire life. Every time I wear it, I'm like, you have to touch this. You have to touch this. You have to touch this.
Yeah.
I love it so much that I also bought one for somebody else for Christmas. I'm so excited about this jacket and about everything that I've ever bought at Quince.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. So get yourself something or give that somebody special something for Christmas.
They even have furniture now, Kevin. Furniture.
Yeah. Okay, I kind of regret ripping this because there's something to read.
Oh, I got to read this.
Read the end.
Okay.
You need both pieces?
No. Get cozy. Get cozy in Quince's high quality...
See, that's where I ripped it.
Yeah. Get cozy in Quince's high quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/crime.
Crime.
For free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/crime.
Crime.
To get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/crime.
Crime.
So, Kevin, who's the next sponsor for this podcast?
Hey, we're sponsored by Babbel.
Amazing.
Are you holding back on your travel plans this holiday because you're afraid of the language gap? Well, no need to mind the gap if you have Babbel. So, you know that sometimes when we can, in the winter holidays, we like to take a long weekend to Montreal.
Yes.
And we've kind of been reluctant to go farther north up to Quebec City.
Yes.
Because you really do have, unlike Montreal where you can get away, there's a lot of people that speak both French and English. You really got to rely on your French.
A little more,
If you're going a little up there, all right? And so there are times when I've tried to speak French to people.
Yes.
And it has gone terribly wrong.
Sure has.
With just these 10-minute lessons and a couple of weeks, I've been, I think, improving my French.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm going to be able to Jay-Z, which is to chat with folks. I also learned what was really important is that European French differs from Canadian French.
Sure does.
You know, the French we learned in high school, like if you wanted to go to the convenience store, you would ask, où est l'épicerie?
Okay.
But if you're in Quebec, what you actually want to do is you want to ask, où est le dépanneur?
Okay.
See, so it's different. All right, so I'm still working on the accent and everything, but this is great. You have some holiday plans and you're going away. Babbel's a good way to get started.
Amazing. Here's a special holiday deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for Crime Writers On listeners at babbel.com/crimewriters.
Crime Writers.
Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/crimewriters.
Crime Writers.
Spelled BABBEL.com/crimewriters.
Crime Writers.
Rules and restrictions may apply. So, Toby, I was a West Wing fan when it was on. I don't think it particularly holds up anymore. But my favorite character on the West Wing, or I should say one of my two favorite characters in the West Wing, was C.J. Craig, played by Allison Janney. And I am so glad to see her promoted from the role of press secretary to being the vice president of the goddamn United States in this show. What do you think about Allison Janney and her resplendent reemergence into the political world in The Diplomat?
She's really good. She's got like kind of the presence to pull it off. Like she walks in the room on the show and it's like, oh yeah, well, that's the person who's in charge.
Well, I'm grateful for your visit and I wish you a safe journey.
You accused Russia of a crime that you committed. We're trying to get them back to the negotiating table and you handed them a new excuse to walk away. You may not want my help, but you need it.
The relationship with Kate, I didn't think was written very well. It's just one of those things where it's like, here comes another twist in their relationship. Here comes another twist in their relationship. And I found that subplot really frustrating. And I actually found the whole thing about the way people were dealing with the potential of her being vice president. Like everybody was just so kind of like blasé about it. She's like, I don't know if I really want to do it. Now I really want to do it. I don't know. And then freaking Stewart is like, when he's pissed off, he says he doesn't think she can do the job. And then he calls back. He's like, yeah, actually, I think she'd be pretty good. It's just like, it's a vice president of the fucking United States. How about giving it some thought and not letting your mood at the moment make these decisions for you? All that's being said, Allison Janney is awesome. And I think the fact that it seems as though she'll be playing a big part in season 3 is really to the show's benefit.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, she's just a very good actor.
She is.
I don't want to derail the conversation about Allison Janney for a second. Okay. But I just have to say, the political logic of this show is fucking crazy.
Why?
Okay, 100 U.S. senators, 50 governors. You say you're going to improve the chances of the presidential ticket by defenestrating the current vice president because her husband is a little greasy and replacing her with a no-name civil servant.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. If you want to make Kate Wyler like Secretary of State or some weird thing like that, that makes sense. Also, the vice president is just going to like spend a few unscheduled days farting around the ambassador's home in London.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would.
What was up with the blood that they brought in when she came? At first I was like, does she have cancer? Is she sick? But then it was like, they always bring like the blood type of the president or the vice president in case something happens.
Yes.
Well, they don't want to have to go to like whatever the local hospital is.
Yeah,
and hope they have
don't
the
want
right
that
kind of
like
blood.
public health shit from England.
But they came through with the cooler of the blood. We're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And what is it like with the Secret Service? Because like in the last scene where we're in the spoiler part of the thing, where No, I want to
Okay, this is a
I
big
want to talk
spoiler.
about that. Why they're coming out all of a sudden? That's a whole
I know
other thing we
why.
need to talk about.
I
Like
looked
a
it up.
flash mob?
No, I looked it up because she was in a space that hadn't been scouted.
Well, this is the fucking thing. This is the thing. They don't have the sidelines, so she can't come in the door. But now the vice president is just walking around the fucking yard for no reason. Like, Hal couldn't come in to take a piss in his own house because the vice president was there. I mean, it's like these little things like just don't make sense. Does it mean I don't enjoy this show? No, it doesn't. And it's not as bad as the political logic they used in the House of Cards, which just seems stupid. And anyway, like, there's a lot of stuff here that's good about, like the little details.
Yes.
These shows that are like inside the machine that's unfamiliar to us, like those little things are fascinating and they add to the credibility of the story. But then you also have these little weird things where you're just like, well, that would never happen.
Yes.
And it kind of detracts from it. But overall, it's fine for me.
One of my other favorite scenes, Laura, was the vice president lecturing Kate on her appearance and revealing what she has to do for her own appearance. She's like, these eyeliner, tattoos, this is the hair that I have to do, these are the clothes I have to wear.
Looking to the north, you probably think your hair says you're too busy serving your country to get a blowout. But it reads as bedhead, which sends a signal I think in this case is better unsent. East and west, try a bra with a little padding. I know there's not much to hide, but when your jacket opens, I'm getting headlights. Which takes us to the south. Is that a paperclip?
Oh, yes, I had a zipper issue.
I freaking loved that scene because you remember notice that there's a sameness around the way political women look. There's like sort of like glossy sameness, and she just like broke it down.
Yeah. I actually was thinking about that as she was saying that because I was thinking of one of my local politicians who I remember when she first got into office. And I look at her now and I'm like, okay, she's dyeing her hair now. I was like, oh, she's got the look now because that's the look that you need to do. But it was like, she was like picking apart her hair and like in your boobs and you need to wear like the right bra. And why the fuck are you wearing a safety pin or a paper clip in your pants? And
That's a good question, though.
It just went through and just like ripped her to shreds. But it was also like, we're supposed to like take it because it's a woman talking to another woman about what's expected of her. But also how ridiculous is that? And it was also like that dynamic is like you're seeing like she's always kind of pushing the boundaries and she's like at the top of her game. And then you see this vice presidential character come in and you watch the way that she maneuvers the other politicians from other countries. And you're like, yeah, Kate is not even close to being on that level that she thinks she's on.
No, she picked up a fucking piece of charcoal from the fireplace.
Yes.
And demonstrated like world geopolitics to smack down Kate and then wiped her hand on her dress as she was walking out. And that scene was fucking rad.
They needed to burn that top secret map now.
Yeah.
Toby, just one political point talking about dumb political logic. The whole like Scottish secession is happening now. I think that's such like a weird and interesting thing to put there. But like, do you buy that?
Do I buy the whole, like, that's the reason behind this whole weird plot?
Yes.
I don't know what to make of it other than at one point I was scrolling through Twitter and there was like an article like why the Scotland plot in the Diplomat isn't so outlandish or something. I was like, not interested enough to actually read it, but I've kind of like noticed that it went by.
Nuclear submarines, Toby. That's why.
Yeah. I don't really know if that's like a big issue in England even. Like, do they care? Like if Scotland?
No, America cares.
Oh, America cares? Oh, hell
That was
yeah.
the
No,
whole-
in the UK, that was a thing.
I know it was, but the whole point here is that because of the nuclear submarines, that's why they care. I don't think it's more about that, right?
I guess. I mean, that's what they say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's fine. I think they just had to come up with a reason. I mean, it's not like anything else makes sense. Why does that have to make sense? To be quite honest, it's like maybe they really do have the submarine things and maybe that really is important and maybe that was like really well thought out. But in the long and short of it is, it doesn't fucking matter at all for the entire rest of the thing. It's like just a very, very thin veneer of reason for all these like plot machinations and people stabbing each other in the back and hair everywhere and all this stuff.
I love the hair everywhere. I noticed that like before it came up, like I realized that both Kate and Idra, like their hair was just sort of like slightly messy.
Yeah.
And, and a part of me was like, well, you don't ever see that on television because everybody's super coiffed and put together.
And Kate's not wearing any makeup either.
Yeah, right. But like in real life, nobody like looks like $1 million all the time, but it also is like a great little character development thing, which like it indicates that like they're busy, hardworking, don't have time for silly things like moose and
a comb.
Shit's gotta happen. I gotta save the world. Give me a paperclip for my busted fly.
Yeah. And she gets called on that.
I got 5 fingers and like I just run it through my hair and we're good.
You know what's like weirdly ironic about that? I don't know, ironic probably isn't the right word, is that Keri Russell has naturally very curly hair. So they have to do a ton of shit to her hair to make it look like that.
Has she ever been like in curly hair in a show?
Yes, of course she has. Of course she has. But that's what's funny to me about it.
Well, the other irony is that most of the British like mystery shows I watch, the actresses in those shows aren't heavily made up. They look more like normal people.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Laura, do you think it's fair that Kate seems to both love but also hate Hal? Because I don't really get the hate. I fucking love Hal. If he was my husband, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, I definitely felt like in this season, as it progressed, I felt like, she's really not being fair to him. Like the first season, I was like, okay, maybe he's out for his own good and he's just finagling because he wants to be the one getting the attention and not her. But the more you watch it, like I felt like the nuance of their relationship really came through in this season in a much deeper way than it did in the first season, where you're like, okay, they're getting divorced and this is probably why. Here you see, like, I feel like he's really looking out for her a lot of the time and really advocating for her a lot of the time. And I just felt like, give him a fucking break. But that's their dynamic. But she is just always on his ass. And I'm like,
what a shrew, am I right?
Well, kind of. I was kind of like, she's just like always just going off on him. And I know in season 1, we talked about the way that they would eat and he would make the plate and he would kind of get her what she needed, I think, with like the food and everything. But in this season, I felt like he was in more of a supportive role, even though he was still doing things that he shouldn't have been doing. And she was just like ripping him a new one. And there was a couple scenes, though, where you're like, oh, okay, this is the deeper part of the dynamic where she does let her guard down a little bit and she reciprocates. Like that one scene where, they're having the fight and he's telling her to sleep in the other room. And then he's like, I can't get my shoes off. Mm-hmm. And you just see her go over and very like tenderly take his shoes off. Also, we talked about, I think last time, like relationships and like this shows you like a real relationship. Okay. Peeing in the bathroom in front of him. I was like, okay, here we go.
The whole show opened with her making him sniff her armpits to see if she smelled before she got dressed.
Not just the armpits.
So it was definitely like there was times. And then there was the other scene this season where they're at the fireworks and he starts to have a reaction where we think it's going to be Stuart that has his reaction and is actually Hal. And you see her being extremely supportive and like breathe and holding on to him. But for the most part, I'm like, boy, what is her deal? And then she's talking to her friend who comes to visit at one point. She's like, well, when it was really good, it was really good. But now it's this and that. And I'm like, I don't know. I'd take Rufus Sewell.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What about you, Toby?
He would take Rufus Sewell.
He's a cute kid.
He's a cute kid.
He's a serial philanderer, but also...
No, he's not. Because he doesn't get it up for anybody but her.
But has that been true his entire time?
Yes.
I thought the whole thing was that he was
cheating is not the problem. That was what was determined in season 1.
Whatever. My main point, that was point B. I led with point B. Now I'm getting to point A, which is, it's just like everything else in that there's like this implied history where their roles were reversed and she was the support person and he was the person in charge. And there's this whole dynamic where he kind of understands that he's not in charge anymore, but he just can't help himself. And it's very hard. And she doesn't realize that that's kind of what she likes until her friend sort of points it out to her. And then she's like, oh, actually, he's a bad boy.
Ooh. Yes. You like it when he makes you mad at him kind of thing.
I think it's a good dynamic. I mean, I think it's a well-written, like insightful kind of thing for this kind of show.
It's also well written that he's really like, he's like a hothead and he does these impulsive things, but he's right about a lot of things he does, except for one big one, right, Kevin?
Yeah, that was a big mistake.
One big one. Yeah. And to your point, guys, as we mentioned earlier, like there were all these extra episodes. I think that when we got to 6, like they didn't give Hal as much to do, but they didn't give him a lot of silly stuff to do. So I think that made the character better. And then we get to the very end.
Yes.
That ending. So Hal basically kills the president by giving him bad news.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but that's like,
I mean, really.
It's like ridiculous.
He's watching the president die. I mean, I guess what did they declared him dead on the other end of this Skype call? What does he do? He says, I need to talk to my wife.
Yeah.
Talk about burying the fucking lead.
Yes.
Right? It's like, actually, I don't know what that means other than the fact that your house guest is about to become is now the president of the United States. Go find a Bible.
The whole calculus is changing.
The whole calculus has changed, yeah. So don't be mean to the vice president because she's not going to. I don't know, but.
No, but it all worked out. You see, it was all this, because he was calling the president to tell him that the vice president was the one who set up the terror plot. Meanwhile, the vice president was explaining why she set up the terror plot. So Keri Russell had sort of gotten over it. He's telling the president, you're like, oh, this is how he's fucking it up, right?
Yeah.
Because he's actually doing this thing he shouldn't be doing. But then he kills him.
I mean, I think between the president and the PM, it's proven that these heads of state do not handle bad news well. They are not graceful whatsoever.
Yeah.
They will either kill you or drop dead.
At this point, it's like, all right, so this is definitely a comedy because there's no way that somebody can write a serious drama where you can give the president of the United States a bit of fairly bad, but not completely catastrophic news. And he's just going to keel over.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys go into a room for 2 hours and just see if you can come up with something better?
Have you met All Modern? All Modern brings you the best of modern furniture and decor. And right now through November 20th, you'll score up to 50% off during their early access to Black Friday sale. Simplify your holiday entertaining with deals on plush sofas, modern tabletop essentials, and more. All on sale at All Modern. Then get them delivered for free in days. You heard that right. Days. That's modern made simple. Shop All Modern's early access to Black Friday sale now through November 20th at allmodern.com.
A hilarious new stand-up special from comedy legend Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, is coming to Hulu November 22nd. This Thanksgiving, see Jim in a whole new light as he gives you the inside scoop on everything from parenting teenagers to weight loss and gaslighting family members. For everyone in need of a happy hour, the new hilarious stand-up special, Jim Gaffigan, The Skinny, premieres November 22nd, streaming on Hulu.
Life can throw a lot your way in the morning. You might be battling drop-off times, while your kids are battling imaginary monsters or their shoelaces. But no matter what life brings, Life cereal puts a smile on everyone's face. With 24 grams of whole grains and unexpected sweetness in every serving, it's sure to please even the pickiest eaters. Help start your mornings with Life cereal.
I really love my life.
Okay, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out The Diplomat Season 2? We are now in the spoiler-free review section. Laura Bricker, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down for The Diplomat second season?
Yeah, big thumbs up. This is one of my favorite shows that we get to review because it's something that's super fun to watch, and a lot of my friends are watching it, and it's just one of those sort of bingeable, enjoyable shows. I think it kind of borders being like a spy thriller with like the diplomatic part, with adding a little romance in there, not as much this season. Keri Russell is awesome. Rufus Sewell is amazing. It's got great writing. There's a lot that you're like, yeah, this would never happen in real life. But you're like, hey, whatever. This is a fun ride. There's great location porn in England. It's just a fun show. I usually say too many episodes. I wish there had been more than 6 episodes because now I have to wait for the next season. And that is going to kill me. So I love The Diplomat. Thumbs up from me.
Toby Ball, thumbs up or thumbs down for The Diplomat second season?
Yeah, I like this show as well. I mean, I think the best parts of it are super, super strong, like as good as anything. I think there are weak parts to it too, which I sometimes kind of am like, why is this here when everything else is so good? You have to kind of check, like trying to take all the like actual diplomatic stuff that seriously at the door. But if you do all that, it's fun. There's constantly stuff going on. The characters, 80% of them are just really well written. The dynamics between them are really good. So, you know, a strong thumbs up from me.
Kevin Flynn.
Yeah, I'm also going thumbs up. I think it's a nice pickup from where we left off on season 1. I do think it's better that it's a shorter season. It seems like it's written more tightly, and that way we're getting more narrative bang for the buck. Keri Russell, Rufus Sewell, they're great together. They've got some crackling chemistry. That didn't go away. These really interesting characters in a very escapist political thriller. This is sort of a more soapy version of Homeland. And the cliffhanger at the end of season 2 really is going to take things in a new direction for season 3, which I'm eager to watch. So I am a thumbs up.
I'm a huge thumbs up too. This show is just fun. This is a fun show. It's fun to watch. It's not a show where you want to pick up your second screen and like scroll through, shopping and social media or whatever. It's just like kind of a riveting, fun show. And I said this the first season too, like Keri Russell, man, I don't know if it's good because she's in it or that she's in a thing that's really good. I think it's a combination of both, but she's great in everything. And almost everything she's made has been great, which is like, good on her. And I love that this is her big TV follow-up to my other favorite television show of all time, The Americans, because that was a political thriller of a very different flavor. And she was also brilliant in that. And sort of seeing her range being this more frenetic, funny, sharp, mean person is just, it's great. And not that she wasn't mean in The Americans. She literally killed people all the time. But I don't know. I just love the show. I think it's super fun. And I'm really looking forward to season 3. It can't come soon enough for me. Now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, a little something I like to call the Crime of the Week. Investigators in Southern California have arrested 4 men on insurance fraud. They submitted a claim that a wandering brown bear damaged 3 luxury cars. Video of the animal scratching up a Rolls-Royce was submitted to their agent for a payout, as well as a claim for damage to a pair of Mercedes. But the state insurance department says the vandalism was actually committed by a guy in a bear costume. They were suspicious because only black bears live in the area. Investigators showed video of the faux grizzly to a biologist who said, yeah, that's clearly a human in a bear suit. The swindle cost the insurance company $145,000 in settlements. The San Bernardino DA is now deciding what charges to seek. I don't know, insurance fraud seems like it might be a good one. So panel, what gave it away that this was actually a man in a bear suit? Laura Bricker.
It probably had one of those little tags like they have on the pillows. It says, like, don't remove under penalty of law, poking out the back of the bear suit.
Yeah. What do you think gave it away, Toby? This is actually a man in a bear suit.
Opposable claws.
Oh, What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, he didn't shit in the woods.
Aww.
And the smoking break also gave it away.
Yes, it absolutely gave it away. Weirdly, though, whenever I see a black bear here, for a second, I always think it's a person in a bear suit because that's what they look like. They look like people.
There is that bear that walks around. There was a bunch of social media videos of that bear that actually walks.
Yeah, a lot of them do that now. They just sort of walk on their back legs. All right, Laura Bricker, if folks want to reach out to you and have you share that link of that video of that bear that walks on its back legs, how can you be found on social media?
You can find me at Laura Bricker on Twitter and Instagram.
What about you, Toby? How can you be found?
I've been staying off social media for the most part, but I can be found at TobyBallNH on different things.
What about you, Kevin?
I might be back on social media with Toby Ball, but if you have anything to say to me, send it to TobyBallNH.
Oh, okay.
I'll forward it right along.
Yeah, you won't.
You can find me on all the platforms at Reb Lavoie, mostly on Instagram. And yes, I started going to Blue Sky this week. Like a lot of people, I am making the migration, but you can still find me on the old one too. It's hard to give up all those followers, right? You can follow the show everywhere at Crime Writers On. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok. And I encourage you to join our incredible community in our official Crime Writers On Facebook group. Get episodes early and ad-free at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. There you'll also get the Crime Writers On After Show, Married with Podcast, Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker podcast, and Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast. We've got levels, we've got stuff. It's awesome. Our theme song was composed and performed by Tyler Gibbons. Our editor is the really wonderful Livy Burdett. The EP of this program is Kevin. This show was recorded in Studio C, The Closet, in our New Hampshire basement, where we also do not care about how messy our hair is. Bullshit, I care a lot. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later. And thwart a Scottish secession movement. And thwart a Scottish secession.
Yeah, you got it, but just say it slowly.
And thwart a Scottish. You say fucking Scottish succession.
A Scottish succession.
No, secession.
A Scottish secession movement.
Okay. And thwart a Scottish secession movement. Yeah. As British for.
I was almost going to interrupt you on that, but I held off.
Thank you.
partners in crime media.
Have you met All Modern? All Modern brings you the best of modern furniture and decor. And right now through November 20th, you'll score up to 50% off during their early access to Black Friday sale. Simplify your holiday entertaining with deals on plush sofas, modern tabletop essentials, and more. All on sale at All Modern. Then get them delivered for free in days. You heard that right. Days. That's modern made simple. Shop All Modern's early access to Black Friday sale now through November 20th at allmodern.com.